Hello everyone, welcome to Pairfect, Daily Tribune's digital show where we dive deep with pioneers and innovators making waves in their fields. I'm Dinah Ventura.
And I'm Montelibano.
Joining us today is Ms. Mylene Matti of the GreenEarth Heritage Foundation.
Welcome to the show, Mylene.
Thanks for having me, Teddy.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, well, how do we start this?
Well, I would like to know how GreenEarth Foundation started.
So GreenEarth was founded in 2009, which is 15 years ago,
15 years
after receiving a donation of 107 hectares of land.
Where?
This is at the foothills of the longest mountain range of the Philippines, the Sierra Madre, in San Miguel, Bulacan. So this land was owned by a private landowner, which he purchased more than half a century ago, with a personal dream of engaging in agricultural ventures towards the end of his, professional career onto retirement. But it did not happen because he got very busy also with his own personal and professional career. And so he decided when he was in his 70s that he wanted this land that he had purchased a long time ago to serve the community in a holistic manner. And so he actually named the foundation GreenEarth Heritage Foundation, but he turned it over to us who were interested in establishing this foundation. And from then on, he didn't want to be a member of the board of trustees. He said, there's no need for people to really know who I am. They will find out eventually. But what matters here is that you fulfill your mission, your vision, and your programs in a holistic manner for the community.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so when you established it, were you alone, or did you have a group, or what?
Well, it was my grand idea, fueled by the owner, who said, it's really a good thing to do this because did you realize that the Philippines is in the top 10 most vulnerable countries to climate change? And this area has been unfortunately ravaged by illegal logging and charcoal making.
Okay.
So there are hardly any trees now. And so it would be good to restore the forests. I myself, being a personal, from my personal journey, I'm a medical doctor. I've been practicing in the United States for many years.
Yes.
I moved to the U.S. when I was 25. After I finished at the UP College of Medicine, I did all of my postgraduate education there for 7 years. And then I got into private practice. But having lived in a place called Berkeley, California, I got really exposed to the green movement, where people would stay up late just talking about the carnivore's diet, talking about organics, talking about whether to be vegan or non-vegan. So I got very, very exposed to all of these philosophies and advocacies. And so I said to myself, how about I try to learn more about this? And so I researched more, and I discovered that the poorest of the poor around the world, Philippines included, are farmers and fishermen.
Okay.
And so if there is an issue about global food security, then how can we as a country assure ourselves of food security when the people are the poorest of the poor who are putting food on our tables? So then I started to connect the dots, and I said to myself, then we should really be focusing our philanthropy to this sector, our group.
Yes.
At that point in time, my husband and I were actually supporting children's causes, which are very, very nice causes because we care about the future of the children. But then we started to discuss how we can impact Philippine society in a more profound way that will be continuous for us. So my husband and I established this in 2009 upon receiving the donation. And so the initial tranche was already titled to the foundation, and we still have a phase 2 donation that needs to be titled. So the total is 107 hectares.
Oh my goodness,
That's
huge.
huge, yes. So how was it when you were putting it up, establishing the foundation? Did you have any challenges?
I
or
think I would like to say I was very naive because being a medical doctor practicing in the United States, and just the idea of setting up a foundation in the Philippines, I'll be very honest with you, I didn't expect all the challenges that
Yes,
came
imagine,
with
yeah.
just wanting to be of help.
Yes.
First of all, the administrative requirements of setting up a foundation in the Philippines was already
Horrendous.
pretty heavy. And then the second part is we were operating in an area with no running water, no electricity.
gosh.
Oh my God,
We
that's
had a river to cross without a bridge
Without a bridge.
and kilometers of unpaved roads.
Oh, wow.
It took over a decade of appealing, along with other members of the community across 3 presidential
Oh, my
administrations,
goodness.
for us to have the answered prayer of this bridge, which was finally inaugurated. I think it was 50 or 60 million pesos worth as far as infrastructure cost. And it was inaugurated less than 90 days before the pandemic.
For the pandemic.
Yes, so this was
Okay.
2020, around January 2020.
And you
if I'm
started in
not mistaken.
2009.
We started in
it took a long
2009. So you will see pictures of us crossing into, just going to the land using a bamboo raft. And sometimes you're not able to cross because of the high level of water after the rains and things like that. So we did sacrifice for about 11 years before we finally have a road at last
My
and
goodness.
a river without a bridge. But we did what we had to do, which is to rebuild our forests. We have a 4-prong mission.
Okay, can you please tell us about your 4-prong mission?
Our first is to rebuild the forest, so that's reforestation.
Okay, but how much is the land? The land is 100 hectares. How much of
107.
that is forest land?
Well,
Or supposed to be forest land?
it depends on how you look at it. If you are able to look at the original tax declaration of this land, there are portions that says pasture land, forest land, things like that. A few sparse areas, rice land, but not much. Most of it is forest land and pasture land
Yeah.
because it's a very slopey terrain.
A slow what?
Slopey,
Slopey, okay.
yes.
The terrain.
And it's a
okay.
water scarce environment.
Okay. Bulacan.
When we
I thought
got
Bulacan
there-
is a
Well, we are
flood-prone
in the
area.
foothills. So this
okay.
is not flat land. We are in the
Flatland, yeah.
foothills. More than 18% slope is the majority of the area. And so farming is very challenging. In fact, as a historical note, when I asked the landowner, why did you purchase this land when you
Just
did?
imagine that.
Yeah, and he said that people were coming to us. I don't know where he heard it from. They were investment bankers and other business people. Pagod na daw sila sa kakasaka.
Sa?
Kaya sa kakasaka.
farming.
Oh, okay.
Pagod na
yeah.
daw sila
Farming.
with farming
Oo.
and gusto na nilang ibenta. So it showed that they were not really productive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Their farming was very sparse and they were unable to really progress to the level of commercial quantity
Yeah.
to make it lucrative and profitable enough for them.
Okay.
And that we discovered on our own how difficult this area is. I mean, if you were able to watch our video entitled Celebrating 15 Years,
Yeah.
we actually showed that we had to build 462 rainwater harvesting tanks. We have 4 wells.
Oh, my God.
And so we did a lot of trial and error. There was a lot of lack of productivity. Things weren't growing.
Yeah.
And so we had to focus on soil rehabilitation using biochar, vermiculture, integration of livestock, para patabain yung lupa. Kasi once you denude an area, as they say, no trees, no bees. No bees, no trees.
Yes.
So you lose your ecosystem in the area. It becomes arid. And then wild grasses start to grow, and these are acidic. And so the nutrition of the land is poor. And so when you're coming from this kind of environment, growing anything becomes a challenge. So you have to bring back
The health of
the health of
soil.
the soil first, exactly, before you can see productivity.
Okay.
Wow.
And so
I can just
it
imagine.
was blood, sweat, and tears for
I don't know
us.
what made
Just
you push
imagine.
on. I mean,
Well, number
coming
one,
from your background and into this kind of environment. and
well, I guess
challenges.
number one,
Yeah.
having thought about
I
this
thought that
after,
you and James are just comfortable,
Diba?
very successful in your respective professions, and boy, I never thought, I never imagined. I mean, I've known them for a long time. I never
Well,
imagined it.
well, probably just the idea that this is something that we can do for a lifetime and beyond. That's why we have the word heritage. Land is a heritage, and it can be used, it should be used wisely and should be passed on in a good way to the future generation. And second of all, as a physician, I'm trained to be resilient, not to be a
Yes.
quitter,
Yes.
focus on the results and the vision. We've gone through hard times in my own profession, and so I think of it as when you start something, you better finish it well.
I wish everybody thought like that.
And so only God knows. I mean, we're now on our 16th year after having celebrated our 15th year anniversary. Only God knows. So going back to our 4 prongs, we have the reforestation.
So you have effort. That you get that going.
It's going, but
Okay.
the point of the matter is, this is something I want to share with everyone. People call and want to tree plant, but a lot of people are under the impression that tree planting is a one-time event. And people turn their backs and, okay, fine, we had fun for a day and we plant trees. But in reality, active forest management is really necessary, and a lot of resources are necessary. Just to give you an example, when you plant narrow trees, a lot of wild grasses will continue to grow. And you have to clean that up. There has to be forest hygiene. Otherwise, you're going to be filled with pests. And these will also compete with the nutrition of the trees that you're trying to plant and nourish and thrive, to see them to thrive. So what happens is you have to keep on cleaning, and that's manpower. You got to pay people. Where's the money going to come from if people think it's a one-time event? So we have to keep on raising funds. And after 5 or 6 years, I show the donors, look, we now have a forest canopy. Then the grasses start to diminish. Because now the sunlight going through is not so much. So that ground cover is now controlled and things are better. So there are a lot of factors. But one day, as we were trying to research and soul search about what are we really doing here, even if we have consultants in forestry, agroforestry, agriculture, you're constantly looking for solutions. And I found this particular and process them without the use of any kind of chemicals. And
No fertilizer.
no, we don't use. We're internationally certified organic by EcoCert France, which is one of the oldest organic certifiers in the world. And this happened because of a supporter who is an exporter of other products like coconut, abaca, moringa, who clued us into this and said, if you have a lot of problems like water, nutrition for your soil and everything, and you need to produce something, we suggest moringa.
Okay.
Because one day, in light of global food security, what we need are nutrient-dense products that you don't have to eat a lot, and yet you will live. And so this is one of them. So I wish you could try the tea.
Yes,
It's naturally caffeine-free. And
which is a good alternative to green tea, no?
yes, green tea actually
It's
is
caffeine.
very, very healthy, but in some literature, it has more caffeine than coffee.
But do you advise this for diabetics?
It is actually good for diabetics.
No, but
why
Moringa
is it
tea
sweet?
in itself is actually a stabilizer of blood sugar. So I encourage you to
Drink.
research and check the literature on the effects of moringa for diabetes mellitus.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now,
Type
you
2,
said it's a
type
bit
2.
sweet.
Yes. It's good.
Because this particular moringa tea that you're trying right now has other herbs like guyabano, lemongrass, and just a tinge of organic honey.
This
I
one
just
doesn't
want
have-
really
I just wanted you to be able to experience the tea and how you can actually play with it by mixing other medicinals.
This one is sugar-free.
This one is the tea. So this is vacuum packed and it makes 60 cups.
Wow.
We're now selling in over 70 stores, but people can contact us directly through our website, email address, and actually be able to buy direct as well through the couriers like Grab,
Yeah.
Lalamove, and things like that.
You can do that. Huh?
Now this is the powder, which is more versatile. It's the same product, which is just pulverized, no chemicals. And with the powder, you can use it to make moringa rice,
Yes.
to put more vitamins into your to your rice.
You can put it
And
in
you can
coffee.
put it in coffee, you can put it in your blended drinks,
Yeah.
soups. So you have, you can make a cream of squash with malunggay or other things.
Okay.
And if you are an athlete who loves to purchase protein powder, we have some athletes who are now veering away from animal-based protein powder to plant-based protein powder.
Okay, it's great.
So this
to
is
know.
actually a good alternative. A lot of our customers are cancer survivors who are trying to adapt a better lifestyle nutritionally. People who are aging would love to arrest aging using
Yes.
the antioxidants
Yeah,
of moringa. People who suffer from inflammatory diseases. I mean, the list is long. And I really believe this should be consumed by every person on the planet.
What's the best time to take it?
There isn't any best time.
Can you take it before breakfast,
often as you
after breakfast?
I personally, for years now, in our own household, have a tall glass of moringa, guyabano, lemongrass, oregano, whatever we can throw in, with a little bit of organic honey every morning before we even eat.
Okay.
Yeah.
On
And-
an empty stomach.
On an empty stomach, it's been
Yeah.
fine. I don't know about other people's stomachs, and I think you just have to try it. I mean, it's not associated with any gastrointestinal diseases or things like that.
Okay.
So I would suggest that just try it, and if it soothes you, then it's great. And then we wait maybe a couple of hours before we have some fruit. And personally, I'm 60 years old now. I'm not ashamed to share my age.
Looks
I
so
only have 2 meals a day now, naturally, because as we
lunch?
get older, our metabolism slows down, so
Yeah.
it's better to eat less.
So when do you eat? The
So
first,
I eat-
first meal is what?
My first meal is a tall glass of moringa,
That's all?
and then I wait maybe a couple of hours. Then I would have my fruits, just an assortment. 5 fruits a day and 2 servings of greens is my goal. And then around 11ish, I would have my breakfast slash lunch. So the next meal would be 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening, and that would be it. So because you're always trying to lose the flab, it's so
Yeah.
difficult.
Tell me.
Or cover it up.
And we are
Maybe
getting
I
old.
follow your regimen.
Yeah, so we
We-
try to limit our food intake, and that would be the best way.
That's
So this one has provided livelihood to a
So
lot of
this is
people, I
currently
imagine.
providing livelihood to the farmers that are growing the moringa at the
Is it
foundation.
easily grown? Easily
If
grown.
you grow 1 or 2 trees at a time, it's easy. But when you're growing thousands, then that's when you also see the profile of things that can happen, like pests, and how you get affected by the physical factors of the environment.
Yeah.
So there has to be a lot of effort in hygiene of the soil, and that's the laborious, expensive part, because then we have to pull all the weeds and everything that's growing to prevent pests from growing.
Yeah.
And then we have to mulch each and every tree so that you prevent, all kinds of extraneous growth. It's a lot of tender, loving care. It's not like it'll grow in the wild. Yes, it will, but if you're trying to make an industry out of it and you want thousands
Yeah,
of trees that are
nurtured,
productive, you really have to
nurtured.
care for the trees.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for any
So
tree.
do you have personnel now?
We have people that are working in the livelihood program. The people at GreenEarth earn from various layers. When we have grants, for example, people paying for reforestation, then we give them a daily wage for planting trees, caring for the trees, caring for the earthworms, creating biochar.
What's biochar?
Biochar is a
Charcoal?
form of charcoal, which is combusted at a far higher temperature than ordinary charcoal. And supposedly the molecular structure of biochar is more favorable for water absorption. So when you incorporate biochar into the soil, there's higher water holding capacity and also higher nutrient holding
So it's
capacity.
also earth nutrient pala.
It's actually an
Soil nutrient.
Yes, it is both a soil nutrient and also an additive to the soil to help it absorb nutrients and water.
Okay.
So not direct. It is not giving nutrition direct, but it's actually its mesh structure, if you will, to keep it simple. Its molecular structure allows more water and nutrients to be absorbed.
Okay.
And so we actually incorporate that to our denuded soil. But it's a labor of love. It's very expensive because you have to go all around the slopes, gather all the ecological scraps, dead branches, leaves, fruit peels, everything, and then bring it to a station, you can create a multi-million station, and this is so easy. But what makes it expensive is because you don't have the multi-million biochar combusting chambers and a train that can actually bring all the waste around, and people who can, we are lacking manpower. We are lacking resources.
How many people do
we
you
do
have
what we
working
can.
now? How many
Like I
people
said,
do
it
you have?
varies.
Okay.
When we have a grant,
From
we had
from
like
how big or
177
how
people.
small, maybe?
Right now, we are trying to raise money because we are now in the completion stage of a current 3-year grant. And so we're trying to raise money to be able to continue the work for 21 tree farmers. So if anyone amongst you is interested, we have an Adopt a Farmer program.
All right.
Where one person, 2 people, 3 people can actually band their resources together to pay the monthly income of a
Of a
tree farmer,
Okay.
which is not really much if you think about it. Honestly,
yeah.
we'd like to be able to pay them more than those people who are paying the illegal loggers. But we can't compete against those people right now
How
because
much
of
do
a
they
lack
get?
of.
How much do you give them?
We are following the guidelines of the Department of Labor and Employment for Region 3
Okay.
for non-plantation workers. That is the bare minimum that we have to pay.
Yeah.
That is one aspect of their income. Now, if they plant vegetables, raise chickens, have their own livestock, they're using the land for free and our resources, tools and everything, then that's their additional layer of income.
Okay.
If they do decide to become more industrious with their
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
What about, do you have to educate them or
Yes.
teach them new
We've had
techniques?
an in-house agriculturist for many years from UP Los Baños. Right now, she's not in-house, but we have consultants such as her and other people that have helped. If you want to talk about vermiculture, we send a professional agriculturist for training, then that person will come and do the technology transfer. We have audio visuals, we have YouTube videos they watch, and then other consultants that we talk to and say, we don't know how to grow these root crops very well, can you teach us? So there are always those kinds of things happening. Thank God for technology.
Right.
That has really helped us.
Yeah.
Like, for example, just as an anecdote, one of our guys who only reached 6th grade will send me a message and say, Dr. Matti, I already know how to do this. I watched 4 YouTube videos last night. Okay, great.
That's great. Yeah.
That's great. So
instant.
when we started, we had no electricity, no running
Yeah,
water
how
here.
did you? Yeah.
Well,
How did
we
you do
had
it?
foundation support. We had other non-stock, non-profit organizations who helped us. And so we were able to get a limited area with electricity. And now we have up to 0.6 kilometers only from where our transformer is. And then we also have solar for certain parts of the foundation.
Okay.
For example, our deep well of 100 meters, this is a new project we only inaugurated 2 years ago. That is hybrid. So when we have good solar power, then we run on solar. But if it's rainy and it's dreary and
Then you
dark,
can-
then we use electricity. So we have that. That's also one aspect of our growth that we wish we could expand further because, as you know, electricity is becoming more expensive,
Yes.
and we really should be Tower of the Sun,
Sun.
for help. So that's another aspect of our development that we're working on.
What about
Wait, how-
the other two?
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
How many